So the reason I'm dressed casually now and we've got a background change is because we're going to talk about meditation. And I wanted to be able to demonstrate part of it by sitting and all of that. So this will be a slightly different video than normal. Meditation is the most important tool you can ever learn. I've been doing it since I was 5 years old. And that's what led to me living in a monastery. I practiced it 8 hours a day for a decent part of my life. I've done it and then stopped doing it and then done it and then stopped doing it and done it and stopped doing it so many times. And I've noticed from that when I do it, it makes such a huge difference, more than any other part of life. And when I don't do it, it's when things start to not work out so well. So you would think I would have learned this the first time I stopped, but it's a hard habit to keep up. And I've got experience and incredible discipline in it and doing it 8 hours a day, and I've got incredible challenges with it. It can be an incredibly hard thing to keep up, as I well know. It can also be incredibly satisfying, and that keeps you going in it. One thing that's difficult in convincing people that they should take up meditation is they're afraid that I'm pushing some kind of religion or something, and not at all. I thought about saying this is about learning how to focus, but meditation is such a common word in our language that we might as well just face it. Meditation is a tool. It's a practice. It's defined differently by so many people that it's hard to even get a clear definition of it. Meditation, in my understanding, is actually 100% focused concentration on one thing. That's incredibly difficult to actually be meditating. People say they're meditating while their mind is wandering all over the place. Or they say they're meditating while they're listening to music or walking or all kinds of things. That kind of breaks the definition of meditation. So let's talk about practicing meditation. So when we're actually in a meditative state, it's when we're really achieving meditation. When we're practicing meditation, we're trying to work towards that state. And that would be a good way to separate those two out. What I'm going to talk about is beginner kinds of meditation, which is why I'm sitting in this chair. There are incredibly advanced forms of meditation available, and we're not going to go in them here. We're going to be talking about beginner stuff. And that doesn't mean those of you that have meditated for a long time should just skip this section, because we're going to dive into the specific types of meditation that were designed for bipolar. And what I did is I went to the senior monks and I said, when we look at this flow of energy and information, I know I've been practicing my whole life and the monks taught me these exercises. When I was about 20, I started getting these specific exercises that said, I'm going to start manipulating the flow up and down my spine up to this point of the brain. And remember, we talked about this part of the brain is what controls all of the flow of energy in our mind. So I've been doing specific meditation exercises for many, many years that say I'm going to direct that flow up and I'm going to bring that flow back down again. So this focusing on the flow of energy and information is very specific. And remember, we talked about bipolar being a dysregulation of that flow of energy and information. So the specific meditations we're going to be talking about are manipulating first indirectly, and as you become really good at it, you'll start graduating to more advanced forms where you're actually directly manipulating that flow. It's a meditation concept called pranayama. Prana is that flow of energy and information. It's a subtle energy that pervades our body, and it can be really looked at as this is the flow of the electrical chemical information in us. It gravitates towards the spine, and that's where all of the nerves come together in the base of the spine, and from everywhere else they all join into the spine and then come up into the brain. So that's what we're doing when we look at pranayama types of meditation. We're bringing the energy from all of the parts of our body into the spine and then up to the top, and then letting it go back down again. And we're directing that on purpose. That's a fairly advanced form of meditation. There are simplistic ways of doing that, and that's what we're going to be talking about. So the lessons will be, how do we use a meditation technique? How do we focus our minds? How do we focus specifically on the flow of energy and information inside of us so that we can start to know about that flow of energy information, increase our awareness, and also increase our understanding of it and our ability to actually direct it. That's what we'll be practicing. So before that, we want to just talk about the basics for those that have no experience whatsoever. You'll see I'm sitting comfortably in a chair. My feet are flat on the ground. I found a chair that I'm not like this, or I'm not with my knees up. I'm kind of in a comfortable position. And then my spine, since all of that energy is going up and down it, we don't want to have a kink in our spine, because that's going to cause blockage of that flow. We want to try to get our spine erect. Now, if you look at the spine, it actually curves. So we're not saying you want your spine straight. You want your spine to follow its natural, proper curve. Well, if you go to a chiropractor can help you to realign that and teach you how to sit in a way that actually enables that. Well, short of going to a chiropractor or a yoga instructor and learning how to do that, find a comfortable seat. Now, some people talk about sitting in a lotus posture, and that's advanced stuff. It's not really that important. I don't even practice it. I just as soon sit in a comfortable posture. It wasn't my upbringing, even though I did practice hatha yoga, to make that part of my meditation the habit. So I've got myself a comfortable place. I find the spot by subtly moving around, so I'm exaggerating that here. And I find the spot where everything just kind of fits. And then I take my hand so that it brings my shoulder back so that the air can flow. And I just place it comfortably at the junction of my torso and my thighs. So that's causing my lungs to open up, because a lot of the exercise we're going to do has to do with our breathing. We're going to be looking at the interplay between the control of our breath and that control of prana. Now, some people say pranayama means breathing exercise, because in the early stages of pranayama, we're actually using breath as the thing to focus on. So I'm getting ahead of myself. First, we're going to look at the posture and everything, but that's why we're sitting in this kind of a position. So once I find myself a comfortable position, and comfortable means I could probably sit here for a really long time without it aggravating me. I couldn't sit for this for a long time, because I would start to get sore because my musculature is working to try to hold me up. So what I'm doing is I'm finding a place that's comfortable for me to sit. In hatha yoga, they call this an asana. It's a posture that is conducive to not only health, but conducive to the meditation process. So this is a simplistic form of an asana, but I'm sitting in a way that is conducive to me meditating. It's not a distraction. The other thing to think about is the way the mind works. The mind has this constant thoughts going on and self-talk and all of this stuff. That's the natural nature of an undisciplined mind. So when we start to practice this meditation, our mind is going to resist it like crazy. It's going to wander off, because that's what we've been allowing it to do for so long. If we could control the mind and not let it wander off, Just imagine how well we can control bipolar. Because a lot of the problems in bipolar is the mind running on its own outside of our control. So the exercises are all about learning to focus, learning to bring it back in. So to that end, one of the simplest meditation techniques is to take up the posture and just watch my breath go in and out. So I will just recognize that my breath is coming in. I'll just sit here and I'll go, it's coming in. And then if it pauses on its own, I'll just recognize that it's not flowing, and then I'll watch it flow out. It's going out right now. And I'm going to have a natural tendency to try to control that. As I pay attention to it, I'm going to try to control that. Well, some meditation exercises specifically does say try to control that. Others say try not to control it whatsoever. Try to just watch it. So our first one is just watch it. We're just going to watch it coming in and it flowing out. It's coming in and it's flowing out. And we're not worrying about the speed, the pace, anything. We're just trying to pay attention to just that. Now, to accommodate our mind that likes to wander, maybe every few breaths or every once in a while, we might take a check on our body. Do I have some tension down here in my calf? Can I release it a little bit? Am I tense up here? Can I just release it a little bit? So I'll try to sit like this. And I'll try to just recognize tension. I'll do a check through my body and just try to release it a little bit. And then go right back to watching that flow going in and out. And try to do that for several minutes. I used to try to get people to say, just try it for 3 minutes. And that's powerful. But try it for 10. Maybe try it for 3 for a while and then set a timer and go, I'm just going to do this for 10 minutes. And that's the beginning of a meditation practice. I'll sit down every day, I'll find my posture, I'll get myself comfortable, I'll interiorize, and I'll just watch my breath go in and out for 10 minutes. The alarm goes off, the ding and the timer goes off, and I go, okay, I've done it. And now I just feel what it feels like to be in this state. I feel more relaxed, I feel calmer, I feel more at peace. Those are the typical signs of beginning meditation practice. Well, also typical signs are the ding happened at the end of my timer, and I recognize that although I watched my breath go in and out 2 or 3 times, I never did again. My mind just wandered all over the place. When I start noticing that, I need to just accept it. Remember, we worked on acceptance. And then I need to say, I need to gently remind myself to go back. So I'm practicing my breath going in and out. And then I catch my mind wandering and I go, no, come back to watching it go in and out. Where was I? Oh yeah, out. And then it goes and wanders again. And that's normal at first. What'll happen is after you get the discipline down and the habit down and you're doing this on a regular basis, you'll find that you can go most of that 10 minutes keeping that focus. And that's where the power is. Always returning to that focus and developing a greater and greater one. So there's the basic beginner. If you've never meditated before, that's a nice beginner practice. You can go to a yoga class, you can go to a Buddhist temple, you can learn all kinds of different basic practices. This one isn't, a magical practice of any kind. It's just a basic one for those that haven't had the chance to go and find other lessons. From there, we're going to talk about bipolar specific meditations. So those we want to really focus on even though they may seem simple, they're simple but building. So one exercise builds upon the other, and as we get good at those, and you come back to us and say, okay, I've gotten a good discipline on those, there are far more advanced ones to share that we're not going to do in this segment.